I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attendance.
Mr. Mayor, all council members except for Councilmember Avery are present this evening.
Okay. All right. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Bacon,
Aye.
Brink,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Okay. So we have open forum. Is there any member here that would wish to address the council on an item that is not listed on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I'm on the understanding that our Fire Chief, Mr. Boltzer, is going to give us a presentation.
Good evening. I come before you tonight to talk about summertime and what we usually have in the summertime, and that's severe weather. Eventually, summer's going to get here, and we're going to have to worry about severe weather. Next week in South Dakota, April 25th to the 29th, is Severe Weather Awareness Week in South Dakota. And the National Weather Service always has a lot of information out, but I'd like to share some tonight for you and the citizens of Brookings. The top two things the National Weather Service recommends to be ready for summer weather are to stay informed and have a plan. I want to talk a little bit about the difference between watches and warnings because that seems to confuse people. And usually I use the analogy of a taco. I have my lettuce here, my tomatoes, my cheese, my taco meat, my tortillas. They're all spread out in front of me. I don't have a taco yet, so now it's a taco watch. It's the same way with a severe thunderstorm or a tornado. All the components are in the atmosphere, they just have to combine. The Weather Service usually issues a watch and it covers a large, broad area because they don't know exactly where the severe weather is going to form. Once they see something on radar that indicates either a tornado or a severe thunderstorm, or a spotter, trained law enforcement sees evidence of such, then they issue a warning. During the watch period, I call that to be prepared. That's when you need to start making plans, especially if you live in a lightly constructed structure like a mobile home or something like that. What are you going to do if this turns into a watch and even goes farther than that? So once a warning is issued, I call that the take action stage. And that's when you put that plan that you've developed into action and you go to a storm shelter or a place in your home or a place in your work that's a sheltered area. The only shelter that in the city of Brookings right now is right in this building. And one thing I always recommend is people don't forget about your pets also. You remember your family members and make sure they're informed, but don't forget about your pets also. And pets are welcome in the shelter here in this building. So, some things that the Weather Service always talks about is be weather aware. Listen to the forecast in the mornings, kind of plan your day around it, be ready for any watches that could be issued throughout the day. Listen to the local news, monitor NOAA weather radio, and monitor your reliable social media sources for those watches and warnings as they're being issued. One thing that really helps that a lot of people don't know about is you can sign up for notifications through your cell phone. Almost all modern smartphones have that feature built into them, and pretty much all carriers offer that service also. That way you get real-time watches and warnings directly from the Weather Service. You usually get them even before the news gets them. And then create a communications plan, have a family plan put together. What are you going to do in case we are in a tornado or a severe weather warning? And then practice your plan. I always tell kids, practice your home escape plan in case there's a fire. Well, you need to do it with severe weather also. And then if you have time, prepare your home. Right now, we could be trimming our branches and things like that, so nothing heavy falls on our homes and things like that. And if there's plenty of time before the severe weather hits, make sure that valuables are placed inside or under heavy cover, things like that. And then the last thing, and it's something we always forget, but I place a lot of importance on it, help your neighbor. If you live in a neighborhood, make sure that everybody understands the difference between watches and warnings and what they should be doing. And then especially if you have elderly in your neighborhood, help them. They may be trying to get some of their valuables inside under cover. So that's my severe weather message for this year. Hopefully we don't have to put anything into practice. Any questions?
Pete, can you remind the people at home again, at what phase do we open up the opportunities for downstairs for people to come?
That'll be during the warning phase. Like I said, that's to be prepared. We're also being prepared. We're opening up the shelter for people to start making their way this way, so they don't have to make that mad dash once it reaches the warning phase.
So a lot of times what I hear is when there's a warning, getting ready to transition, or a watch going to a warning, especially those people that live in dwellings that maybe aren't really made for that type of weather, the mobile homes, to really start working their way towards this building so that they're ready when that weather does
That's right.
come.
That's why we open up the shelter during the watch phase, because it does take time for people to get here. And another thing I'd like to bring up is don't wait for the storm sirens to be set off. That's usually going to be a very late phase, probably after a warning has been issued and something has been spotted where danger is now imminent. And there's some misunderstandings in the storm sirens also. A lot of people complain because they can't hear it in their house. The sirens are designed to warn people outside that they need to take shelter. So that's what they're designed to do, is for the people that are outside.
I assume also, Pete, that you're going to be putting a lot of information out there on social media next week or in the next weeks to come?
Exactly, next week.
Any other questions from council? Okay, item 5, approval of consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, does the council have any questions or comments? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Brink, Collins,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Bacon.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 6A, STSU Student Association report, and Anna's on her way up.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Vice President of the SDSU Students Association. The government affairs chair that we appointed isn't here for the rest of the semester, but she'll be with you next fall. So I'm finishing out this semester. We have a long report tonight. A lot of things have been happening, especially in SA for the last couple weeks. So we approved the Global Studies Club Constitution. We passed a very heavily amended Amendment 2110A, an amendment revising SA signatures to be added to the election ballot, just making it a lot easier to get on the ballot, especially if you're in a smaller academic college, you need less signatures. We passed Amendment 2111A, which creates a diversity liaison position on our Senate. After a lot of great debate and after really years of discussion on the position, we finally have that on our Senate. We also passed Amendment 2112A, which removes the office assistant position. We haven't had that in a long time, so it just clears that out of our bylaws. We passed our fiscal year 23 general budget. A lot of hard work went into that with funding all of those organizations, and that passed unanimously. And then we swore in the brand new Senate and the new exec team as well. And just, I guess as a side note, we are excited by the Board of Regents' March meeting and the decision to go forward with the tuition freeze for next year, how much that will impact students. Update on the Student Promotion Fund. We funded 2 events. So we funded the Little International, which was April 1st and 2nd, at $8,750, which was 87.5% of the requested amount. And then the SDCU Annual with Cheapy, which was April 9th and 10th, and we funded that at $2,275, which was 75% of the requested amount. And then we also discussed in our last meeting of the semester how to kind of find more continuity in that committee with students turning over all the time and how to hopefully get more use of that fund next year. And then a couple of university updates. The Wintrose Student Success and Opportunity Center had its grand opening in the Volsdorf a couple weeks ago. So that's going to be a great resource for students because it connects so many useful parts of the campus all into just one place. The State-a-thon annual fundraiser for the Children's Miracle Network, with proceeds going to the Sanford Children's Hospital, raised $133,000 2 weekends ago. So that was a really cool event. SDSU's The College Tour episode is out on Amazon Prime, so I'd encourage everyone to watch it. It's really cool. It kind of demonstrates a little bit of all the different pieces of campus and what we have to offer, so I'd encourage you to check that out. Finals week is already the week after next, with graduation on Saturday, May 7th, and then a little update with the food service provider transition. So following that graduation day, there's a 3-week theme where basically all sites for food will be closed except for the dairy bar. The dairy bar will still be open and have like cold sandwiches and drip coffee and things. So that's just an update there. It'll look pretty different, but everything will be up and running by like new student orientation and all of the big things this summer. And then also it was announced that there's the Dakota Dream Career Exploration Summer Camp for 7th and 8th grade students, so they can experience at least 10 different career paths during a 5-day camp, which will be on campus from July 24th to 28th. There's 3 Board of Regents schools that were chosen, so that's a super exciting opportunity this summer too. So with that, I'll stand by for any questions. Thanks for your time.
Council, comments? Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Okay, recognition of National Volunteer Week. I have a Merrill thank you here. Whereas the City Council and staff of the City of Brookings want to recognize the contributions made by volunteers to the city and the community, and whereas our volunteers work daily to better the City of Brookings, the dedication and commitment they devote to their positions is truly genuine and passionate about the success of our community, and whereas the city cannot solve its problems alone, that is through partnership with volunteers combined with their continued efforts, which allow the city to make a difference. They are a large part of what makes the City of Brookings a great place to live. And whereas our volunteer boards, committees, and commissions, our volunteer firefighters, our reserve police officers, our volunteer library staff are constantly working towards improving the city for those who currently live here and for future residents, as well as visitors to the City of Brookings. Whereas through the dedication of city volunteers, we are able to expand our possibilities, accomplish goals that might else have been unattainable, all while growing together as a community. And whereas volunteers are true partners with the city, united in their efforts, with sincere concern for the well-being of our community, they seek to make the city safer and stronger. And whereas our volunteers are vital to the sustainability of the city and are truly the heartbeat of our community. Therefore, during this National Volunteer Week, April 18th to 22nd, 2022, we want to say thank you to those who help support city departments by serving on the boards, committees, and commissions for your continued direction, selfless dedication, and tireless support. Thank you. Okay, anybody want to make any comments towards that proclamation at all? Okay. All right, contracts and change orders. Item 7A, action on resolution 20-025 awarding bids on 2022-06 STI chip seal project. Charlie Richter, our city engineer, will review this item.
I'm here tonight requesting approval of Resolution 22-25, awarding the bid for the 2022 chip seal project. This bid is for the, as you can see from the map above. The lowest bidder for this project was Topcoat Inc., with their bid of $397,637.78. This bid is approximately 15% higher than the engineer's estimate due to higher fuel prices that the contractors have been seeing. Staff recommends approval of the resolution and award to Topcoat Inc.
Thanks, Charlie. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, does the council have any questions or comments? So this is not necessarily the oil for the chip sealing, it's the fuel for the equipment, correct?
As far as for the increase, correct.
Yes.
But this contract is and the application of the oil.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Collins,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Tildenburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Bacon,
Aye.
Brink.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Item 7B, action on resolution 22-029, authorizing the city manager to retain a construction manager at risk for the renovation or replacement of the Brookings Public Safety Facility. Jacob Meshi, our assistant city manager, will review this item for us.
The resolution before you would authorize the city manager to retain Henry Carlson Construction for construction manager at risk or CMAR services for the public safety facility project. The city received proposals from 2 firms who were vetted and interviewed by a selection committee. Henry Carlson is being recommended based on firm background, applicable and relevant experience, strengths of the project team, project approach, and demonstrated knowledge of local and regional subcontract market. If the resolution is approved, the city would proceed with step 1, which entails a feasibility study that would conclude with a recommendation on a new build or renovation, preliminary cost estimates, and conceptual design. Henry Carlson will work closely with and collaborate with the architect and engineer to provide accurate cost estimates, control costs, and define the finished product. Proposed costs for CMAR Servicer Step 1 are $5,760. Staff recommends approval, and staff as well as Tegra, the city's owner's representative, are available for questions.
Is here also?
That is correct.
Okay, and he's representing the owner of Henry Carlson?
Owner representative on this.
City owner rep.
Yep,
Okay,
he is
all
on.
right.
Yep, he is part of our
All right,
team.
I want to make sure we get that clear.
So moved.
Is there any public comment on this item? Does the council have any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Tildenburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Bacon,
Aye.
Brink,
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Okay, item 7C, action on resolution 22-030, authorizing the city manager to retain the firms JLG Architects and Roth Shepherd Architects, working together on the renovation and replacement of the Brookings Public Safety Facility. Jake Meshi, our assistant manager, will also review this item.
The resolution would authorize the city manager to retain JLG Architects and Ross Shepherd Architects working together for architect engineer services for the public safety facility project. The city received proposals from 9 firms who were vetted and interviewed by a selection committee. JLG Architects and Ross Shepherd Architects are being recommended based on experience, qualifications, availability of the proposed project leaders, team structure, history of the project team, proposal, interview response, as well as proposed fee and reimbursable expenses. Proposed costs for the architect engineer services for step 1 are $85,000. Staff recommends approval, and staff as well as Tegra, the city's owner's representative, are available for questions.
Approve.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, does the council have any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Can I ask a question, Mayor?
Nick?
Yeah, thank
Sorry.
you. Stages of a search process for a new chief of police, and this process is just step 1 that we're envisioning will last between 4 to 6 months. Is there a chance that we'll still be in this phase after we have a new chief of police hired? I'm just thinking about that individual coming into a process that we've already exited step 1 and will not really be able to provide input.
Yeah, we anticipate at least the first analysis of whether or not we should build on the current site or build somewhere else, probably that August, September time frame. We hope to have a new police chief hired sometime in July, but they probably wouldn't start until August. Joe, our assistant police chief, he's been a part of this whole renovation process from the start, so there will be some consistency and continuity between that process.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll.
Tildenburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Bacon,
Aye.
Brink,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye. Item 8. Item 8A, introduction and first reading on ordinance 22-031, 013, an ordinance authorizing budget amendment number 4 to the 2022 budget. Ashley will present this item for us.
Good evening, Mayor. First reading of Ordinance 22-013, authorizing amendment number 4 to the 2022 budget. This ordinance has 3 parts. Part 1 carries forward funds from the 2021 budget in the amount of $2,490,000. This includes the police department analysis that was initially scheduled for the end of last year but actually began earlier this year. And the rest of these budgeted expenditures in Part 1 are related to our capital projects funds, including 15th and 7th, the Public Safety Center, the Armory upgrades, and the Brookings County Food Pantry. Part 2 includes new priority items in the amount of $1,570,286. $4,300 of that is a replenishment of the City of Brookings branded promotional items, and $10,000 is for ag business consulting services performed for the Swift Health Center, and $13,160 is for consulting services provided by Venue First Consultants during the RFP and venue management transition process at the Swift Health Center. These funds will be transferred from the 3rd B Tax Fund. At the time of transition from Venue Works to Spectra in the 3rd quarter of 2021, the projected budget shortfall for the Swift Health Center at the end of 2021 was just under $194,000. At the update provided at the for the Swift Health Center in January to the council, the projection was $54,452, and after closing the books for 2021, the final total was $42,826. This amount will be transferred from the general fund, with the source being American Rescue Plan Act funds. The final item in Part 2 is the replacement of the Swift Health Center's HVAC system. At this point, it has exceeded its useful life by 10 years and is requiring frequent maintenance. The estimate for replacing all existing systems to meet current standards is expected not to exceed $1.5 million. This has been identified as a City Council priority project and will be funded through existing general fund reserves. Part 3 involves buildings and contingency-related expenditures in the amount of $31,800. $20,000 will be transferred from the building sinking fund for 2 ionizers to be installed in the City Hall HVAC system, and $11,800 will be transferred from the City Manager's Contingency Fund to develop a professional cost estimate for the holding barn located near Larson Ice Arena and the Swift Health Center. This project is intended to create indoor recreation space while at the same time enhancing the functionality for Swift Health Center operations and programming. The second reading of this ordinance is scheduled for April 26th, and with that, I'll stand by for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. This is first reading, but we do invite public comments or questions. Does anyone in the public want to have a question or comment? Seeing none, close public hearing on that. Any council questions or comments? Leah? No? Go ahead.
I would just comment that it's phenomenal to see the Swiftel deficit from a negative $190,000 to just negative $40,000. Don't like to see the negative $40,000, but that's a difference of about $160,000 that you've been able to bring that back into correct it. So nice job, those Swiftel work out there.
So, question for you, Paul. Have we reached out to, is there someone doing the cost estimate, or we have to find someone yet?
Yeah, so that $10,000 or $11,800 is to work with Banner and Associates, do some cost estimates of what the overall cost would be to make improvements out there.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Second reading next week, April 26th. Item 8B, introduction first reading on ordinance 22-014, an ordinance to rezone the south 545 feet of the north, 1,053.7 feet of the east, 467 feet of the west, 500 feet, excluding Lot H1 of the southeast quarter in Section 35, Township 110, Range 50, from Business B2A Office District to Residence R2 Two-Family District. Mike Struck, our Community Development Director, will review this item.
This is a rezoning request on a piece of property along Main Avenue South, approximately between 15th Street South and 20th Street South. A little over a year ago by Northern Plains Professional Group. The request before you tonight is they're seeking to rezone approximately the east third or so of the property from a B2A to an R2. The original intent was to put some professional offices in there. When they acquired this 5+ acre site, they knew it was a little bigger than what they needed. And so their group is working with a local developer, and there's an interest to put some housing along the east, kind of as a buffer between that residential neighborhood to the east and their professional offices that would be closer to Main Avenue South. This is actually kind of a 3-part process. The very next item is a conditional use for what they intend to do, and then at next week's council meeting, you'll actually see the preliminary plat, the rezoning, and the conditional use all together. But this does come to you as a recommendation from the development review team and a unanimous recommendation from the planning commission to support the rezoning request. I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Thanks, Mike. So is there any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, does the council have any comments or questions? Okay, second reading on this next week also on the 26th. Thank you, Mike. Then, item 8C, introduction and first reading on ordinance 22-015, an ordinance to permit by conditional use townhouses on the south 545 feet of the north 1,053.7 feet of the east 67 feet of the west 500 feet, excluding Lot H1 in the southeast quarter of Section 35, Township 110, Range 50. Mike Struck will also review this for us.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a conditional use application. The owners of the property are seeking to construct some twin homes on this east portion of the property. You have an example of kind of the layout that they're looking at there. This does come as a unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission with a condition that the conditional use permit would allow up to 20 dwelling units in whatever sort of configuration that was. There could be some potentials. On the example shown, I think it was 5 structures with 4 units in each. They may decrease the number of structures and add more units, or maybe make the structures a little bit smaller. They could fit in some 3 units with a combination of 4 units or something. And so we wanted to provide a little bit of flexibility to the developer, but the Planning Commission felt that the density should not exceed a total of 20 dwelling units. So like I mentioned, the development review team and the Planning Commission give their support for this conditional use request, and I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Thanks, Mike. Any public comments or questions? Seeing none, any council questions or comments? All right, move. Oh, Patty.
To see this happening, do we know? I'm assuming if the developer is willing to invest in this, that we have a large enough appetite in this community for this type of housing.
Yeah, the developer has been successful in similar types of units. These are geared towards owner-occupied units, and so they would all come with an attached garage. The intent would be to make them available for sale.
Good. Okay, thank you.
No other comments or questions? We'll be looking at this on second reading next week, Tuesday also. Item 8D, introduction and first reading on ordinance 22-016, ordinance to permit conditional use of major home occupation hair salon in Lot 18, Block 4 of Moriarty Edgebrook Addition, also known as 1636 Durrell Drive. Mike Struck, our Community Development Director, will review this item.
2-016 is a conditional use for a major home occupation. Essentially, the homeowner is seeking to have a one-chair hair salon. And based upon our criteria for major home occupations and minor home occupations, it does generate that level of traffic or interest that requires it to go through the conditional use process. One of the conditions that we typically put on home occupations is it's for the applicant only, so it's not transferable if the home were to sell. and that is a similar condition that we would recommend placing on this. It does allow the ability for somebody to get a start on a business and potentially build a client base and then make the determination of whether or not to invest in kind of a bricks and mortar type building for their business. So this is something that we do encourage. It helps those small businesses get off to a good solid footing before they start investing significant dollars into capital. It does come to you as unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission, and the Development Review Team supports the conditional use request, and I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Public comment on this item? Seeing none at the moment. Council questions or comments? Okay, Mike, thank you. Scheduled second reading is on next Tuesday, the 26th. Okay, item 9, public hearings and second readings. Item 9A, second reading and action on ordinance 22-011, authorizing budget amendment number 3 to the 2022 budget.
I'll do it. This item is the second hearing. And I believe it allows for two different things. The first, visa donation for I can't even think of the name of it. The equipment that they're placing out there, they're going to be running through the city to take advantage of. No, I'm sorry. The Brookings visa. I can't think of the name. The hockey folks.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Thank you.
Never mind.
Video board there at the Larson Ice Arena is what it is. And then the second one was for, I believe, the funds for the Human Rights Commission for the new signs. We had recommended that we would match any funds that they'd put towards it so they can add more signs, and I believe the signs are going out like hotcakes. So if people are interested in them, stop by City Hall, pick one up. Those are the two major items within this budget amendment.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, does the council have any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Wendell,
Aye.
Bacon,
Aye.
Brink,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Tilton Burn.
Aye.
Motion passes. City council member introduction of topics for future discussion. Anybody have anything they want to bring up? Seeing none, of course, first readings we had tonight, we'll be seeing those next week. We have outgoing city council presentations. We have a code change for pedal cars. And then bid award for the fire department training tower. And somewhere on my notes here tells me that council member Collins has a birthday on Friday. Very good. Yes. Happy birthday. Okay. Without anything else going on, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion adjourned.